You're not special in having a sad backstory, bad boy. Welcome to the freaking club. And the whole time, she's not free. It looks really bad, but it's for the greater good. So you shut up. First of all, ew. Why did I have to see that man's legs burning? Hello everyone, my name is Joe. Welcome back to the channel of Delusional Theories. Let's talk about yet another great episode of Foundation. We're going to start today with Harry and the Mule because I was pumped to see this encounter, to see this interaction. In my previous review I said this, and I was surprised by how it turned out because Harry had such a stern posture. And when he said that, I can fake emotions, I can imitate emotions, but I don't feel them and you can't exploit them. I was so surprised by Harry's posture in their interaction, and especially by the fact that he could have killed him. Okay, from the beginning, the similar backstories was already an interesting conversation because we're going to see a lot of parallels in this episode. We see a lot of comparisons, and one of the very first one and the most interesting one potentially is Harry's comparisons to the Mule's backstory. They were both born in poor planets which were meant to farm for the Empire or Foundation. They both face difficulties because of this exploitation of the Empire and the Foundation of these poor people. And Harry says, I knew when the quotas would go up because those are the days my father will beat me. And he's saying this to kind of tell the Mule, you're not special in having a sad backstory. Bad boy, welcome to the freaking club. There is no justification for what you're doing to the galaxy. You want to use your sad little backstory as a reason for why you're decimating all of these places? Good freaking luck, because it won't work. It isn't a reason because I had a sad backstory and here I am trying to save humanity. And this is a conversation that has been going on in fiction and in reality for a very long time. The origins, like your backstory, what you suffered, whatever you went through, can be an explanation for your actions, but can never be a justification for your actions. And the Mule immediately recognizes this in saying, my story is sadder than yours, in making a joke about it. It's almost like he was talking to the audience, because we've been wondering for a long time, this season, because I didn't know about the existence of the Mule, but the fans probably for a long time, about what is his backstory, what happened to him to get him here. And I said this in my previous review as well, that the Mule might be looking for people like him, might be looking for the second foundation, not to decimate it, not to destroy it, but to find people like him. And he won't, because they are not psychopaths, because most other children having that type of backstory would not turn into authoritarian leaders trying to take over a galaxy. And I felt like when the Mule said, mine is sadder than yours, it was kind of him admitting that he knows this, that he knows that his backstory will not justify his actions, and then just moving on to the conversation. Harry does not fall to the Mule's control. He can't be controlled, and he can kill the Mule, but he doesn't. He would rather exploit the Mule for his own interests than take out a really big threat to the galaxy. And you have to wonder why, if this was one of the reasons why Harry decided to not tell this Harry about the second foundation. Because, did he know that this would be the choice that Harry makes? Because right then and there, the Mule could have been killed. He could have been no more. And I think this version of Harry in the first foundation already knows that the Mule is not exactly he knows what we know, or suspects what we know, that there's something else behind him. And he says, I'm going to keep you alive because I want to find out your secret. And it doesn't keep him there. He knows that's not the way to find out what's happening. He's kind of like Snape, let's allow things to unfold, to see what happens. Harry was put in the Triwizard Tournament. Let's see what happens. That's kind of Harry right now. He just releases the Mule and is just inside his little cocoon to see what happens, to see if the secret is revealed. And I will talk about potentially what the secret is later in the episode. But I thought this was a very dick move from Harry, but it also reflects once again this idea, and the idea is going to be reflected so many times in this episode. I will talk about it. The idea that individuals don't really matter. And this is an idea or a concept or an aspect of humanity that is accepted by the Foundation, Empire, and by Harry Seldon. The idea that individual lives do not really matter for the overall picture, because Harry is fine, calculating how many people will die in this instance and that instance and whatever, so long as the greater good of humanity prevails, which is to, make the dark period shorter. Make it to 1,000 years. And they even talk about this in the conversation between Harry and the Mule. But the other thing that happens within this conversation and after this conversation, and honestly throughout the rest of the episode, is that the Mule becomes a lot smaller. He becomes a lot smaller, like in our consciousness, because right then and there we've seen him be so absolutely vulnerable. Just in what, like the beginning of the episode, like from out of nowhere, just like this, he almost died. He became so vulnerable, like in our consciousness as an audience and potentially the people around him as well. Eventually, he is no longer this menace to humanity who can control everyone around him. And we've just seen him almost be killed. So like the threat of the Mule has been decreased in a way. Like, I don't know how to explain it perfectly. It's just, he became smaller in that moment. I will return to the Mule in a second, but first I want to address everything that happened with Brother Day. I don't know how, but Day has been, like this Day, this version of Day, what is he, 24th? 26, something like that. He's become one of my favorite characters. I don't know how the writers did this, but the Day that we met in this season has received some of the best writing, some of the best lines of the whole season. In this episode, the monologue that he delivers to the Inheritance people is so, I will talk about it, but I was so goddamn impressed. Like, when those scenes were going on the screen, I was absolutely fixed on him. First of all, the setting of where the judgment is happening looks, again, it's so cool. I've said this so many times that the settings for this show are so beautiful and just generally cool. But this one is so interesting because all the sets that we see are kind of like very technological, right? Like spaceships or planets with a lot of technology and stuff like that. And this was just a little bit of technology, like infrastructure in the ground, and then just a bunch of caves. A bunch of caves, or, I mean, that looked like stone. A bunch of caves, a bunch of, like, little verandas, I don't know how you call that, carved into stone. And the whole time that I was watching that scene, I was wondering, how was this built? I mean, maybe I should leave this to another video just about the world, but I was so it kept coming back into my mind, how was this built? How are these people here? Is this a remnant of initial buildings or whatever when they first took over Trantor? How is this here? Because it looks like something that was built a long, long time ago, and then these people found it and built some infrastructure underneath it, and then they opened the goddamn thing for they to fall from it, and it's so goddamn deep. It makes me wonder, did they just build this infrastructure out of some cave that already existed or something? I was fascinated by it, the whole time. It looked so cool. But yeah, they are during their judgment thingy. The skull lights up. Clearly some technology is still intact, and they do the little play explaining how humans produced robots to start exploring the galaxy and eventually took over everything. And now it evolved into the Empire and what happened to the robots and all the shenanigans. I noticed so many things in this episode, but from the beginning in this scene, and again, another interesting point in the story, they frame the humans that come to explore Trantor with the help of the robots as these greedy little people who just wanted to explore more places and get more resources to get richer and richer and whatever the hell happened. And it's yeah, I don't doubt it. Whenever I see representations of people like this as just greedy little creatures who want to exploit the universe for their own gain, like in Avatar and stuff like that, I don't doubt it. I mean, yeah, that's how it's going to be. I have zero doubts in my mind that humanity, if it survives its own self-destruction mechanism that is taking place right now, is going to explore the universe at some point and is going to bring absolute chaos to it. Because when have we not? When have we actually overcome that? We haven't. We still haven't overcome that. Like, so much conflict in the world exists because of the greed of some people who need that conflict to be able to exploit the countries where those conflicts are taking place. So when I saw this line and in the little play and stuff, I was like, yeah. Thank you for showing me this, because I appreciate seeing it, stuff like this. So then in the little play, they get to the Neil Demerzel thing. They talk about the Neil as like the robot lady that was left behind to one day bring back the robot into society and to save humanity and so on and so forth. And I was completely fascinated by the prophecy, especially with the developments of the episode, when then we find out that they truly, like, they have faith in this person, but are not aware that she actually exists. It's kind of like a abstract thing. It's like an abstract thing that this person or this robot will come back to save them, or that is the legend, but they don't actually know or believe that that robot is actually alive and here and could come at any time. It's a very strange way of believing in a prophecy, right? You believe that someone will come to save you, but at the same time, you know they're not here. And if you are watching my reviews of Chief of War, you know that I'm exploring also the ideas of prophecy in that show, because it is a very important part of it. And I really enjoy seeing the exploration of the idea of a prophecy in the way that they are doing it, because the way it's coming true in that show and for that culture, because this really happened, is through a collective of people, a set of circumstances that are all building up together to actually bring this prophecy to life. It is not happening exactly in the way that they prophesized, but because they believe in it, it is coming to life. They are making it happen. And here in Foundation is a little bit different, because the prophecy and the religion that they've built, the inheritance, is built like any other religion on earth that we have. I mean, it always came from something that actually happened, a person that actually existed, and then it was built upon it, like myth upon myth, tale upon tale, fairy tales are added to it, and it builds this gigantic thing that after thousands of years is very complicated, convoluted, has very many rituals, and the idea is generally lost. And the way that this prophecy was built, the way that this religion, this faith was built in the Foundation is very similar, because it started out from a person or an entity that actually existed, Demerzel, the Neil. But then they built it up over the years to be something that is completely detached from reality, because in reality, the Neil exists. It's Demerzel. She's there. She's in the palace. She is doing her work according to her programming. But they think that she is laying somewhere sleeping or getting ready or whatever. And one day she will wake up and come back to recreate the robot race and save humanity. But that's not reality. I mean, she is there, but that's not what she's doing. I find these explorations of faith and religion so wonderful, because creating a completely different faith, prophecy, religion, and giving it similar mechanisms and evolutions to the one we have in real life allows us to reflect on the stuff that we have in real life and are too close to be able to think about properly. But in this religion, this faith, whatever the hell you call it, in the inheritance, you can also see the pitfalls of our own religions. Because again, and I've been talking about this for a while in the previous episode for sure, there's this idea being reflected on yet another big organization that, however innocent and however genuine and honest and good the initial intentions of anything, because you can take the Catholic religion, because that's the one I know the most about because I was raised in it. I mean, it started out as very good intentions. I mean, I do believe that Jesus existed at some point, and the way it started, it was really cute and nice and good and wholesome. But I mean, 2,000 years later, it's absolutely ridiculous. And this is what happens in the show as well with the inheritance. It gets to a point where They are just run by leaders who don't have the faith, who don't believe in anything. They're just there to exploit the power and to, pursue their own interests. And you have it so beautifully in this episode because they provides proof. He does the little hymn, the little song that activates the technology inside the skull. He creates a little unity song that syncs all of them up to look for one another in the galaxy. And that is absolute proof that he knows something, because he literally did something to the skull. And he also has the tool from Demerzel, so that's proof. And he also has the memories from Song, so that's proof. He tells them the truth. He tells them something they don't know yet about their own religion. He provides proof about it. And still they don't believe it because they've been so completely deep inside their own belief, their own limited, very, dictated belief that they don't believe anything could ever exist outside of the framework of the ideas they have for that religion, that faith. So when he comes to them and tells them, no, she is alive, but she's not laying in wait, sleeping to bring forth the peace to humanity or whatever, to, recreate the robot race. She is alive, but she's enslaved by the Empire. She's a servant to the Empire. So you have to change the way you think about her a little bit if you truly want to meet her. And they can't. They can't because they have that very constrained thinking of religion, of faith, their very blind faith that they believe in the way it is precisely as they are taught. And then we have this leader who clearly just wants to exploit their faith to have control and power over them. So even though he knows the truth, even though he knows that their god, their goddess is existing right there where they are, in the planet where they are, and they can't go free her, he doesn't care, because any huge organization, no matter how good it starts out to be, has a big potential of becoming overrun by leaders who just want to exploit its power. This whole scene with Day was amazing. And some of the lines, some of the stuff he says, I even wrote it down. When he's what a performance from this actor. When he said, I want to atone, he said it so perfectly. He said it so, with such frankness that the tone he used was perfect. It was perfect. I felt it. I felt it in the core of my being that he wanted to atone. Honestly, if this is part of Cleon training, that they have to be able to convince the masses to manipulate them wherever, great training, because it sounded so genuine. I want to atone. He said it so well. And then later on, when he's giving his little monologue to the inheritance people, he says this sentence that is just so, and it explains the whole purpose of religion and faith in the fictional world, in our real world. It explains it perfectly. And I'm actually going to read it to you because why not? I think we all tell ourselves stories to make sense of the tiny roles we play in the vast and wildly complicated galaxy. Is that not applicable to our world? Everyone tells themselves stories to cope with the ridiculousness of life. Isn't that the purpose of literally every single religion? It's just people who are afraid of death, who are afraid of life, who have no idea what the hell is going on. So they just cling to the first people who tell them what is going on, even though they don't know and they're just making it up. I love this episode. I love this scene in particular. And then to add to all of this, there's another aspect to this monologue, to his conversation with the inheritance people, that is just beautiful. And I had noticed certain aspects about this theme, but I had never put it together like he put it together here. And it's just, do you guys know? I know that I'm mostly speaking to a male audience. My statistics tell me for weeks that the majority of people who watch these videos are men, because that's the majority of the audience for the foundation. And I know that you're not going to want to listen to this because, but anyway, do you know that song Labor by Paloma Perez, where she says, therapist, mother, maid, nymph, then a virgin, nurse, then a servant, and all that stuff. Like all the roles that women play for men to take care of them because they can't take care of themselves, because women have to be everything for a man and they don't give anything back. They're just little sacks of meat sitting in the couch pretending that they have relevance. And I'm not trying to insult you. I know you watching this are a guy, but they explain this so well and so beautifully with Day's monologue about Demerzel, because he says, your goddess, the person you pray to, the person you have belief in, you have faith in, is currently enslaved in the palace. She's made to be our executioner, our mother, our sister, our lover, our everything. And she's the only person in the world who loves us, even though she is forced by the programming to love us. And we treat her like a machine. We treat her like an object the whole time. We ask anything and everything of her, and she does all of it because she is enslaved to us. If you are a dude and you watched that whole thing and nothing clicked in your brain, please watch it again and again and again and again, and think about the women in your life and the women in the world in general, and how much this applies to us. Because I don't even have the words to properly explain it. But yeah, go listen to that song from Paloma Perez and you will understand, maybe, perhaps. And this day has been treating Demerzel like shit for a long time. And I mean, I don't know if he's even genuinely admitting to this or if he's just trying to save his own skin, but it just felt really good to watch that. Like, I don't know who the writers for this show are, and I don't know if this was in the original book. I doubt it. But so well done, guys. So well done. Oh my God. When I was watching that, I was thinking, yep, 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 yep. Just an apprentice lived to attend him so that he never moves a finger. And Demerzel is the Empire. She is the one who's been leading it all these years. Because if the Cleons stray away from the original message, she just takes them out. She's like, her programming allows her to defend the Empire with such ferocity that she can even take out the Cleons. So she's been leading all along. She's been taking the Empire through the course of her original programming to serve the Empire all along. And these little emperors sit on their seats and they are fed by Demerzel and they are loved by Demerzel, and she does everything for them, and they're just little puppets sitting on their seats and everyone thinks they are the power, and in fact it's her. Like, I don't know who built this story this way, but it's just and the whole time, she's not free. The whole time. And they even says it, like, if you go and try to free her right now, she will have to kill you. You couldn't have put internalized misogyny in women in any better way. You couldn't have. And it's not even that with Demerzel, because I think she knows what she would have wanted. She's expressed it in previous episodes, the idea that she would probably want to rebuild the robot race if she was free, but she can't. Like, she's this servant to them. She's this everything to them. She rules their empire for them, and it's not even her choice. I love Demerzel so much. Please, I want her to be free. Like, I want her. I will talk about this later on. Oh my God, I've been recording for so long. I want her and Gail to join forces and just take over the universe. But yeah, they then sings the little melody, activates the little technology that lets all the robots know that that little beacon is active. Demerzel will probably find him now, and I think Song will go to the palace for sure to, like, talk to Demerzel about this. and Day falls into that pit. I'm assuming he's still alive. However, he fell from a really big height. Even if he's hitting water or whatever liquid it is, he probably won't be okay. So, bye Day, maybe. Now, Demerzel and Dusk. I felt like Dusk was kind of performing for the ambassador a little bit. And that, paired with what he said to Demerzel later on when she was decanting some more clones, I don't know. I feel like he wants, I've said this before, I feel like he wants to remain in power. I feel like he doesn't want to go, because he was saying to Demerzel, now is not the time to take out more bodies out of the whatever liquid that is, because it's going to take days to bring them up to speed, and we don't have days because I'm going to be gone in 2. I feel like he does not want to die, honestly. I feel like he's gonna try everything he can to escape it. And the council will give Trantor to the Mule. I'm assuming that's how Gail and the Mule will get to Trantor, is through this invitation from the council, because Gail is in New Terminus, so she's bound to meet the Mule. And I mean, I think there's a shot in the trailer where Gail and someone else, maybe Harry, are walking into the little thing that I forget about, the coffin diamond arrival thing. So I don't know what kind of confrontation is going to happen between the Mule and Gail, but something is going to happen. They are going to go to Trantor, and the vision is going to come true. I feel like there's something about this whole thing that I'm missing. I will explore it a little bit in different parts of the video, but I feel like there's something I am missing. But again, this conversation between Dusk and the council people was so goddamn interesting, and he even shouted in their face twice. Relinquishing the Empire to save the Empire makes no sense. And I really enjoy the idea that there's this religion, this faith, whatever the hell they call themselves, the Illuminati. What's it called? Luminists. The Luminists took part in the decision, and they have this whole argument that it's for the greater good of humanity to make peace with the Mule so that the Empire can survive very quickly and still exist, and whatever the hell it is. And to me, it's just so clear that they're making this decision out of fear, that they're trying to appease the Mule so that the Mule won't attack them next. So again, it's the conversation, like the ideas that are being explored in between the lines of each conversation and each interaction in this episode is so fucking fun and so interesting, because that is exactly what you would expect from a religion. Any religion is acting out of fear and then justifying it with the greater good. Like that's the rule that all of these big organizations, big people do. It's just like, it looks really bad, but it's for the greater good. It's like, shut up. Admit it. Admit that you are afraid of the Mule and you want to do anything to appease him so that he doesn't come after you next. But an aspect that I thought was really cool was that started in this conversation and then carried on to the conversation between Demerzel and Dusk is the fact that we are seeing more and more, we are seeing kind of the general soldier part of Demerzel coming back to life. And maybe we never stopped seeing it because she has been a strategist in ruling the Empire. But we see glimpses of it, of her like seeming more military-like and stuff like that, especially when she's looking at that goddamn weapon. And I enjoy that, actually. I like seeing that part of Demerzel. To me, it was a bit confusing in the beginning, especially when we were seeing that part of her looking at the gun, because she kind of looked like she had a mesmerized look. But then in the conversation with the lady from the Luminist, it becomes clearer. But before that, there's this interesting conversation with Dusk when they're looking at the weapon that he built in secret from Demerzel somehow. And Demerzel tells him about the second foundation, and he says this line of, so Harry had a backup plan as well. And then he says, I prefer mine. And it's, again, another, comparison between Harry and someone else in the show, because Harry and the Mule, it was about their backstories being similar with abuse and poverty and whatever, and then they turned out to be different people, one fighting for good and one fighting for evil. Maybe that's the superficial interpretation of it. And here we see it again, that both Empire and the Foundation had a second plan, a backup plan, but the Foundations is about having even more knowledge, studying the Radiant even more, having even more understanding of what is to come and how to stop it. And the Empire is just a weapon that can destroy planets. Things are very clear in things that are not said, I guess. And then we have the conversation between the luminous lady, priestess, whatever the hell she is, and Demerzel. And I was just frustrated with the luminous lady because she fundamentally misunderstands what's happening with Demerzel. I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but from what I'm seeing, it's this idea that Demerzel really doesn't want to do this. And she even says it, that I'm about to do something even worse than I've done before. And it's the fact that she's going to have to use the goddamn weapon. And she, the luminous lady doesn't understand that Demerzel is not acting on a desire. She's acting based on something that she has no control over and she can't stop her programming. She's acting this way because she can't not act this way, because she has to do it to defend the Empire. And the fact that this lady does not understand it and has such high expectations for Demerzel's free will, even though she does not have it, is frustrating to me. But the whole time I was thinking, there has to be a way to change her programming. And I know that's the whole thing. They even says it, if you try to, she'll have to kill you, because if you change the programming, that goes against Empire. But I feel like if Gail is going to do anything out of the box, if Gail is going to be able to defeat the Mule and truly do something that no one is expecting, because this has to be what she learns from the Mule, right? Because the Mule and her are outliers, and the Mule as an outlier has already completely destroyed the plan and made a new plan for himself. So Gail has to realize that she can do the same. And with the advice she got from the hat dude, which I will get to, she has to be thinking a little bit out of the box. And what is more out of the box than being able to convince Demerzel that changing her programming is the only way of saving the Empire? Right? I just want them to unite and work together. These are my two favorite characters. It's Gail and Demerzel. I just want them together. Not together, working together. So then Gail and the Second Foundation. This is what baffled me the most about Gail, is that she was just confused and desperate about the fact that the Mule just destroyed the plan by going for the first Foundation first. And I can't understand how Gail doesn't realize that she can also do that in one move, she can also completely turn the game in her favor, or in the favor of the Second Foundation. And I really hope she goes for it. The scene of Gail telling Hapman that they have to leave and leave her behind, heartbreaking. I would trust that man with my life. Of anyone in this show, I would trust that man with my life. And maybe Demerzel as well, actually. Anyway, she has a point. Gail has a point, because if the Mule gets her, she is compromised, and she knows the plan, and she'll be able to give him, or he will be able maybe to extract all that information from her. But also the plan has to change. Now that the Mule has pulled a move that changed everything, the Second Foundation going forward, and with the leadership of Hatman at this point, they'll have to make a completely new plan. So whatever Gail eventually relents to the Mule or has to give the Mule, it won't have as much of it won't have as much power, because they will have to change everything anyway. So I understand why she's doing it. And if the Second Foundation continues without her, and there will be geniuses, there will be someone in the Second Foundation that can be extraordinary and be trained and be good enough and whatever. I like that, actually. I like that she realizes that even though she has done a lot of work and she has been a very important source of the power of the Second Foundation in tackling this business, I like that she understands that she is not that special, in that sense that she is as special as the mule, maybe, in the way that they can influence the plan, but that other people can take over from her. I like that very much. And it's implied. She never says it. But yeah, I think she has a point in going to, sacrificing her life to take the life of the mule. It makes sense, but I don't want her to die. I mean, we know she doesn't. We know that she ends up in the edge of a black hole because the goddamn weapon is going to be used. And where will they go? I have only one hope. I want to see Earth. I want to see Earth in the state that it is right now. I hope they go there. And before we move on to talking about Beta and the mule, there's just one final aspect of the conversation between Gail and the Hatman that I was living for, because the Hat Man is talking to her about thought sharing, about the fact that when she allows him to see her visions, that he feels like he is in the vision, living it with her. They managed to make it a shared experience. And he talks about how he has experienced this with thought sharing, that a big, huge group of people can share their own thoughts with one another to such an extent that they become one big creature. And isn't this kind of paralleling the thought sharing that can happen, or the synchronicity that can happen with the robots when they need to connect with one another? I just... Immediately it went into my mind that these are similar, and it makes sense because the robots can be connected through technology somehow, and then the mentalics can be connected through their mentalic abilities. And if the robots were such an unstoppable force back in the day, and the mentalics can have similar capacities or capabilities to the robots and become such an immense power now. And also about this idea of thought sharing, in a previous episode, we see them as they're going into Gail's thoughts. And it just feels like ideas crunching into each other. But I really like that aspect, that advice that basically he was saying, you are both mentalics, you're both outliers in the plan, you are both extraordinary people, but you were raised in a community of people who love you and protect you and will fight for you of their own free will, whereas the mule was raised with hate and with isolation and with people who treated him more like cargo than anything else, because he was on those pirate ships or whatever. Gail was raised, well, not raised because she was an adult, but Gail, as a mentalic, she was raised in a community of people who follow her because they want to, whereas the mule has a community of people who follow him because he mentally controls them. And that was just such good advice, because it's I'm so sorry that I'm going back to Harry Potter, but it's like when Sirius tells Harry that it's not how they are like, it's how they are not. But let's talk about the mule, Beta, and Dawn. First of all, how the whole premonition thing is starting to get on my nerves. Because how did the mule know? I'm assuming this is more about military strategy than actually mind reading, that he knew that Gail would come to him. But did it have anything to do with the encounter with Harry? For one fraction of a second, I thought, is Harry the one controlling him? But I mean, no, because that version of Harry didn't know about the mule's existence. Right? Dawn, Beta, and the mule. First of all, ew. Why did I have to see that man's legs burning? Survival is so brutal, isn't it? I discussed this in my 100 favorite film series, which I will be continuing soon. In one of the film, I think it was the first film, there's this discussion about how far are we willing to go to survive, and when is it no longer, enough just to survive? When is it better just to live a short, meaningful life? And I got reminded of it while watching this thing, because it's how far are you willing to go to just survive? And is it worth it? Why survive just for the point of surviving, just for the purpose of surviving? Surely there's something better than that. Those legs were absolutely disgusting. He should have puked on them. He should not. He should not. How does she know? How does Beta know that he will be healed Like, how does she know? What was going on in that room? What happened? I don't understand what's happening. I mean, why does the mule leave when Beta asks him to leave? And how, like, he's so concentrated in being cruel. And he even talks about himself like in the third person, like, I'm known to be cruel, aren't I? And then he's cruel to prove that he's cruel. And then in his cruelness, it's kind of like he disconnects from all the minds is controlling on that planet. And then when Beta is like, it's time for you to go, baby boy, it's like he reconnects to the minds of the planet, and maybe like someone saw the ship arriving and that's how he knows that Gail is there or something. But what was that? What was that? Beta, what was that? How he barely even recognized that she was there until she talked. And when she talked, and she looked fearful, like she looked afraid of him or apprehensive or just not enjoying his cruelty, let's say. And like she talked, he recognized her, and he was like, something clicked in his mind, because first he was looking at her like kind of angry or confused, and then he smiled and said, oh yeah, it's time to go. Like, what was that? And I know that the theory that is going around is that Beta could be the one controlling him, could be the one giving him these visions and everything like that. Like, I thought about many things. I thought maybe Beta could be the baby, and like she's there unwillingly and he won't harm her because she is his baby sister and she knows she is, but she doesn't want to be. And there's like all of these stuff happening. But what I think I would prefer happen, because someone mentioned this in the comments, I think in my last video, this idea that maybe Beta, like Magnifico and like the baby, are this kind of people that just make everyone else around them love them. And I like that idea. I don't remember the comment exactly, but it's somewhere in my previous videos. And I like this idea that like they're in the same way that there are people who are mentalics, who can, who can control other people's thoughts and infiltrate other people's thoughts and whatever. Maybe there could be other people with special abilities that have to do with emotions. And I've been talking about this when talking about the power of Magnifico, that it's a lot more about emotion than thought. And it would be, to me, it would be so fun. It would be the coolest possible outcome if it is like that. If there are certain people in the universe, they maybe don't know about it, but they have this special ability to make people like them or to enhance other people's emotions about them. And it could be Beta, it could be Magnifico, it could be the baby. I also like the idea that either Magnifico or Beta could be the baby, and the mule knows they are, and maybe the baby, a grown-up baby, could be the person controlling him. But I don't know. I don't know that I would love that. I would enjoy it, but yeah. I honestly, like, I could make up a lot of different theories about what connection Beta may have to the mule and what could be going on, but it could be different things at this point, I think, and I kind of just want to watch it and see it as it appears on the show. So I'm not going to mule. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Let's just maybe leave it like this. And if for the next episode, it'll be episode 9, the last one before the finale, right? If we have a little bit more of a revelation, I'll try to explore it a bit better. But for now, I kind of want to leave it here because this specific part of the show, I kind of want to enjoy. Like, I don't want to guess who's controlling him. I don't want to guess what his secret is, even though maybe his secret is about the baby. Like, because if the secret was that someone was controlling him or manipulating him or something like that, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be his secret to give. I feel like if someone was controlling him or manipulating him, it wouldn't be his secret. Harry couldn't have found that out from him. So I feel like if it is his secret and something that the mule could eventually divulge or let go somehow, it would be cool if it was about the baby. Like I said in the previous episode, the baby has to come back somehow, and it would be cool if it was Beta or Magnifico. But let's leave it like that. The last thing I want to say about Beta is that I found it funny strange. The fact that she like noticed the camera and she seemed to be kind of performing a little bit for the camera. And then even though she knew the camera was there and they were listening and watching, she still said to Dawn, escaping out of here is not a one-person job. I found that strange. I can't explain it, but I found it strange. If you can explain it, leave it in the comments. I'm so sorry this video is gigantic. I'm not sorry at all, because I knew as I was watching the episode that I had too much to say about this episode. I really loved it. I think this has been the best one so far. And I know I said this about the previous one, and now I'm expecting episode 9 to be even better and episode 10 to be even better. But let's see. Honestly, the thing that I'm really, really happy about with this show is that it is good writing, because I'm a Game of Thrones girly. Like, I started watching Game of Thrones when I was 16. I watched it, like, I as soon as it came out, I was like there watching it, and I fell in love with the character complexity and with the writing and how well thought out and complex and morally gray everything was. And I like those aspects of Foundation. That's what like draws me into this show. It's not just the fact that it's beautiful, sci-fi worlds and complex political issues. It's just the complexity of the characters in their contexts and going through their own challenges and, facing things that we could never have predicted. It's just wonderful to see, and yeah, I'm enjoying it very much. Thank you for watching. I will be here next week. If you want to watch my review of Chief of War, I'll be posting it tomorrow, and yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.